You're listening to the Grow Landscapers podcast, the podcast where we delve deeper into landscape business, interviewing legends of the UK landscaping industry. So, join host Nick Ruddle as he explores their thoughts, insights and experiences. That's here on the Grow Landscapers podcast.
Hi and welcome to the Grow Landscapers podcast. I'm Nick Ruddle and today we're here with Alice McAuley, who runs an amazing business called TMA Consultants. How are you doing, Alice?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. As I spoke to you just earlier before we went live on here, I first came about your company because I'm one of the judges for the Pro Landscaper Awards, and I was blown away literally by the standard that you set in your business. And I think it's the first time in my all 3 years of me judging those awards that I've given 100% in every single answer to every single one of those questions. So I thought, well, who better to get in on the show to see how they do it and see what words of wisdom you can offer people, because obviously what you're doing is really, really good. And I see that with all the entries in those kind of awards, but yours really did stand out for me. So
that's really nice to hear. I mean, the caliber of people there was really high as well. So that's really lovely to hear.
There's some massive names in there, weren't there? Really, it really is. And those awards are getting more and more competitive every single time, and harder and harder to judge every time you have to judge those.
Competition's a good thing, though.
Yeah, it keeps you on your toes. Keeps you on your toes, doesn't it? So obviously, so you've won Pro Landscaper Awards before, and you've also got your Investors in People Gold accreditation as well. So obviously, got to do quite a lot to get to that kind of standard. A lot of hard work to get to that.
You have, and you've got to maintain that standard as well, especially with the Gold Investors in People Award. We first got accredited, I think, probably around 7 years ago now, and so you decide which standard you're going to go for. So obviously, first time around, we just went for the Investors in People Award. And we passed that, and it was a real achievement because we've always had aspirations of the type of company we want to be, and we've led by example with those and value and invest in our staff very heavily, and really pride ourselves on being a good employer. So it was almost confirmation for us to be able to achieve that, and then you get reassessed every 3 years, but between those 3 year intervals you have sort of mini assessments as well. And on the 3 year expiry of our Investors in People, we got told that we should go for the gold, which was quite nerve-wracking because it's a big step up. And we managed to achieve that, and then on reassessment for the third time we again achieved the gold. And as I say, it's not a small feat, and it's not something that you can just sort of do and then put in a drawer either. It's actually becomes part and parcel of your organisation and the way that you run things and part of your culture, really, in that respect. And it keeps you. It's nice as an employer as well, because actually it makes you answerable to something. If you understand what I'm saying there, it sets a standard by which, as an owner of a business, you have to work within the parameters of, and you have to achieve, and it pushes you to be a better manager and a better employer. So I really value the Investors in People accreditation, I must admit.
Yeah, it's a brilliant framework because you start day one with a blank piece of paper. How do you become a good employer? I think it's great because it gives you the roadmap. You've got to have this in place, this in place, this in place, this in place, and you can't just sort of think, oh, I've done it now. Like an ISO, sometimes you can sort of leave it on the shelf and think, okay, well, I've done with that. Whereas with this, you've just got to live and breathe it every day, and it does hold you accountable, doesn't it?
Yeah, and most of the assessment is done throughout sort of interviews of your staff. So it's that culture that then comes across to the assessor, and you can't fake that. You have to live and breathe it. So it's a good thing there. It's really good.
Yeah, brilliant. It's really, really good, and keeps you on your toes. That's for sure.
Definitely does.
Okay, so how long have you? Well, obviously you've been in the business. You came into the business. Just give us a little bit of background of where it started and when you came in.
Yeah, sure. I've been working in the business for 21 years this year. Wow. And I started when I was 17, so you could probably work out how old I am. Wow. When I joined the company, the business originated as a tree surgery firm. It was my father's tree surgery firm, back then called Tim Moyer Tree Services. And we had a couple of gangs and predominantly did tree surgery. But when I left college, as a lot of people that leave college do, I was a bit sort of, I just didn't know what to do, where to go. I also struggled with confidence in regards to interviews. And so my dad was moving into the realms of consultancy and needed some sort of administration and CAD support. So he said to me, why don't you come and work in the business for 3 to 6 months and, you know, answer the phone and do some administration and get something on your CV and get some confidence to walk into an interview with actually some experience in the real world. So I said, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I can do that. And now I'm still here.
Yeah, running the show.
But, yeah, and you know what? It's been a real journey because it's and a privilege because I've been able to help grow the business. Basically, the journey has been that we ended up doing very well in the consultancy side of things and sold off the tree surgery side of the business to purely concentrate on the consultancy. And from then just grew really. It started with myself and my dad, and then we started to employ other consultants. One of the first consultants we employed was Tracy Clark, who has her own consultancy now, fabulous consultant, and she was a real key part in the early days of helping to build the company as well. And yeah, I mean, when I started, we had aspirations, and we still do, to be, you know, very technical, high quality. We've always been about high quality and technical innovation. And so we invested in CAD. And at the time, we thought we were really top of our game, you know, because we were working in CAD. And we got a big utilities. One of the first projects I worked with, we've got a massive multi sort of UK-wide utility firm contract for assessing trees for risk. So my job was to receive soggy bits of paper where trees have been sort of, you know, plotted by hand, and then to type it up and into a schedule and plot it in CAD. And we thought we were really, really sort of fancy for doing this now. But and now we're completely paperless. We've developed our own software in conjunction with our associates, My Trees, and everything's digital. And so I've gone from 21 years ago, starting in the company, doing sort of CAD and administration, and working in a converted meat freezer that we turned into an office.
Wow.
on the yard where we ran the tree surgery, to today where we have 21 full-time staff, around 20 sub-consultants that work for us continuously, and we're a multidisciplinary environmental consultancy, providing ARB, ecology and landscape architecture, and sort of land assessment surveys and GIS and topo and things like that. So It's been a journey. It's been a real journey.
Amazing how it's evolved over that period of time. So with your role then, obviously you started doing the admin now, and then I think you said earlier that you were a director. So when was it? 11 years ago you became a director?
About 10 years ago, I became a director in the company. Yeah, and at that time, it was one of the big sort of changing periods for us as a company was the 2008 recession. So that was really tough for us. At the time, we were only doing arboricultural consultancy, and we were doing really, really well as a consultancy. We had lots of brilliant consultants, but it was all planning based, and a lot of it was for care home developers, one of which was about 70% of our turnover. And we always knew we had all of our eggs in one basket, but when you're sort of making hay, it's very hard to kind of manage that and not be led by the nose. And the 2008 recession hit us really hard because that one client literally disappeared overnight. So it was a big thing for me, and I grew up really quickly, I must admit, and had to learn a lot about business and strategy, and when you're not doing so well, what do you do, and sit back and reflect. It's definitely challenging. I had to make people redundant, which was horrendous. And I had to basically sort of try and cold call, which we'd never done before. You know, we'd never advertised. We've always got our business through recommendation and you know, word of mouth, and we've never done any of that. And, it was hard for everybody at the time. But we sat back, and this, I feel, when I really sort of became more of a manager of the company here, we sat back and we decided, what do we want to look like? What do we want the business to look like in 5 years' time when we ride this storm out? And we decided that diversification was key. So, as I said, at the time, we were purely ARB-based consultancy. So the first thing we did was we decided to diversify the ARB sector of what we did. And so I spearheaded the department that now deals with true risk assessment, and change our client base, because we didn't want them all to be developers, So now we have a huge part of the company, about 40% of our turnover is true risk assessment, and the clients that we have vary in that arena. So we have local authority clients, housing associations, we have private landowners, utilities, schools and colleges, and a big array of clients,
less risk, isn't there? Much less risk. So
much less
recession-proof, really. If one's affected, at least you've got the others. You're not relying.
Exactly. So we managed to achieve that, and then we decided to sort of expand further into other areas of work as well as arboriculture. So the first area that we expanded into was ecology, and it takes a long time to bring in a new service, to understand it, to be good at it, to get the right team, and we've been doing ecology for 10 years now. And I would say, actually, the last year, it's really just everything's clicked, everything's fallen into place. But it's not that it's been unprofitable, but it's really taken off. I feel like we're very comfortable with it. It's really embedded. It takes a long time to hone processes and automation and technology around a product to make it really profitable and really slick. And so we feel like we've really cracked it this year, which has been great. And obviously we're a SIEM registered practice, which was a big achievement. And then the next thing we went into was the landscape architecture, and this year we became a registered landscape practice. So it feels like the kind of strategy that we sat back and said, this is what we want to do, has finally come full circle for us, which is really good. And now I'm sitting back thinking, okay, so what's next? And that's really exciting. That's really great. Yeah, and I think it's a great time in the industry for it. Yeah,
perfect. Never a dull moment at your company, is there? I mean, and think about the people that are listening to this now. They're all landscapers or landscape related. So you've just advertised all your wonderful services you offer. So you may get
never a bad thing, is it? Never a bad thing.
Maybe even get you even busier. But look, I think at the moment in the current climate, recession looming globally, especially UK, US. For various reasons, as we know at the moment, some of these lessons that you learned from the last recession in 2008, obviously this time around you're much more protected. But for those people listening to this now, I think you've got to start thinking about, how do we recession-proof our business? What kind of target market are we in? What kind of target market do we need to be in? Could we diversify? Would we need to diversify? Because 6-12 months down the track, I think could be in a quite a challenging situation.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing I would say is, if you see a risk like we identified, don't just talk around it. It's very hard when you're doing very well, but if you see something that is a risk to your company, put something in place to try and rectify that, because your gut will always tell you. Your gut will tell you that this is the problem.
You've got to listen to that intuition. It's really important. And I think some people don't always listen to that, and then afterwards kick yourself. You think there's something wrong about that. Just something wasn't quite right. But I think you've got to listen to those kind of feelings that you get. But as you say, when business is going well, it's really, really easy. When times are tough, that's what really defines people as a business owner. And I've interviewed some people already on this show, and that's a common theme. They've all been there, done that. They've been through 2 or 3 recessions and learned from them. So hopefully the purpose of this channel, this show, is to help people avoid those pitfalls. and learn from people that have done it before, so that you don't have to go through the painful experiences yourself.
It's always hard at the time, but if you look back at any struggle that you've had in business and you look at the changes that you made as an organisation, you're always so much more improved than before at that point.
Yeah, and it also makes you as a business person bulletproof. You become resilient because you know that if you can get through that, you can get through anything. So your sort of resilience just grows and grows and grows, and you become a much stronger, much better business person for it. If you don't have the hard times, you'll never really test yourself or have to challenge yourself, or improve, or make different decisions and start thinking strategically. So oh, brilliant. Okay, so at least anything that comes your way now, you'll be able to ride the wave.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. You never know. I mean, we're in uncertain times at the moment, and I do feel that the strategy that we set back then has put us in a much more solid position going forward. And as you say, and also the associations we've formed as a company. I never undervalue the associations that we have with specialists and our competitors, seeing our competitors as allies rather than competitors. 9 times out of 10 in business, if you're doing well, your competitors are doing well. And I think so many people see themselves as an island, and I think it's wrong. Our associations have always been such a positive experience. I mean, we have associations with Tree Work Environmental Practice, who are another agricultural consultancy who we've had associations with for years and years. And we've developed our MyTree software that we collect all of our data through. So we collect all of our agricultural and our ecological data through that on tablet PCs on the site. And we've developed that in conjunction with them. And it's been a really rewarding process and a really great relationship to have. As well as other associations with just specialists in the field, that are just real experts in what they do, and surrounding yourselves with those types of people, not just specialists in what you can provide, although we shouldn't underestimate that, but also specialists in, like yourselves, like business coaches and specialist accountants, and all of those, surrounding yourselves with all of that support and really nice people to work with. You can't do everything, you can't be an expert in everything, and it's much better to sort of lean on people and see them as allies, and just create that network of framework of people around you to be able to do the best job possible.
Definitely surround yourself with great people, both internally and externally. You're not going to go far wrong, are you? No. I think some people have the wrong approach to their competitors, but we've got this word called co-opetition. So you're sort of cooperating with each other, but you're in competition, but you co-opetition. That's like an action coach word, as far as I'm aware. But no, it's true. It's true. I think you surround yourself with good people, you won't go wrong. So for you then, you've been a director for 10 years. Is it 10 years? Yeah, 10 years. You've now been the MD for 2 years. Yeah. So what would you say the most important elements are to running a successful business?
Oh, okay. For us, we don't make anything. We sell advice and specialist advice, which is quite niche in a lot of respects. And so, one of our biggest things is the investment in our staff, and the valuing our staff, and staff retention, because once we get good people, we want to retain them and we want to keep them, and also just growing our own as well, having the opportunity to have good people in place who can mentor and bring people on and make it rewarding and stimulating for them to be in work every day. Which includes, having that diversity of services and products and clients as well, that you can give interesting and innovative work to your staff. The other thing I think that's been essential to our success has been investment in technology. I would say 99% of the time, the investments that we've made have paid off in regards to technology. I've mentioned MyTrees, but we've also developed our own company database in-house. We're pushing the boundaries with BIM, and we've invested in Vectorworks. We have a whole team of CAD and GIS technicians here people that 3D model for us and things like that. And those staff members are as important as the consultants because they enhance the quality of what we're able to achieve.
Yeah.
So for us, it's they are the two sort of pillars that help us to achieve a high quality product. And one of the biggest and hardest things that we find is a sort of barrier to that, as far as staff is concerned, is recruitment. It's finding good people in those niche areas and getting them to come through. And in regards to the technology, it's keeping up with how quick it is, but it's also the space you need for server space and actually having a strategy for, which is the bit that I find the most boring, but having strategies for actually managing the amount of data that you have and being able to make that future-proof is huge, because if you think about sort of BIM models and the size of files that you're working with, it just becomes enormous amount of data that you're actually having to handle and manage, and your computers need to be to the grade to be able to process that work, and it's only going to get larger and bigger and more complex. So that's a whole other area that we're currently working on.
Yeah, you just don't realise all these things when you first go into business or first start in the role, that you're going to have to anticipate all these kind of challenges. You can go, technology, okay, well then that needs more space, more data, right? Well, more server space. And blimey, learning.
And do we go
time.
Cloud-based, and do we have sort of a half and half situation? And what do we invest in as far as hardware is concerned? It's actually going to last us for 5 minutes. And it's another huge topic that you have to then get your head around. And also, as I said, surround yourself with good people, and that includes IT support. It's all part and parcel of it.
The whole business is run on IT, isn't it?
Yeah.
The whole business, without even the internet, your business doesn't function anymore. It's not like years ago. And that's the thing, when you rely so heavily on something, if it goes down, then it's like, oh, what do we do now? So you've got to be really careful, because when you have a lot of people sitting there, you want them to be productive. So, but we've never been at a better time, never ever been in a better time technology-wise, with the amount of software that there's out there for your business, for landscape business, for designers, and it does evolve, and you've got to keep up with with all the latest kind of software. But there's an acronym that we use at Action Coach for system, and you might want to sort of make a note yourself, or if you're listening to this. So system stands for, because this is what all good systems should do: save yourself stress, time, energy, and money. Because by having systems, it should make you more efficient. It should make you money, should save you money, should minimize your stress, and should improve the way that you do things. And technology obviously is one of the best ways. And I see quite a lot of landscapers, I see a lot of other companies in all different industries and still don't have the right kind of technology in place, like a CRM system. Something like that, just to manage your sales pipeline and just keep your efficiencies where they need to be, and keep you professional, keep you consistent. And that's what good systems give you, that consistency.
Yeah, completely. And also having the staff to sort of run those. We've invested in project coordinators within the organisation, which has been really good, because they've used all our sort of CRM systems to manage all the data and everything else. But over the next few years, we have quite high aspirations to be able to deliver data in a format which is usable in regards to just not sort of a PDF of a CAD plan or a 2D, an actual interactive model. We're already doing it with the tree risk element of the company. We've developed with our very clever staff web hosting for our tree data, so that contractors on site can access information, can update it, everyone can add to it, so that we're actually delivering something that's usable in an interactive technical form. And we have aspirations to do that, obviously in line with BIM, across the sort of landscape and ecological and ARB areas in planning. And as you say, these systems should cut down your work. So we work a lot on automation of process, so that we're not ever double entering, so that we don't write our reports in Word, for example. All of our reports are produced by connecting our MyTree software to our company CRM database, so that we automatically pull through all of the data that we've collected on site, and we can then sort of auto-populate elements of the report. For instance, you don't want to have to write the address twice when you've already written it in your project database. Why should you bother doing that? And actually, it seems like small things, but when you add them up, they save a lot of time. And so we work quite heavily on efficiencies like that to be able to support what we do.
Yeah, I think systems and IT and processes, I think the whole business is run on systems, whether they're processes, whether IT systems, whether it's a manual process or whatever it might be. So the rule of thumb is an 80-20 rule. So 80% systemization, 20% humanization. So you need great people operating and training on great systems. And that's when it works. So but you're always going to need great people. The machines and robots can never take over everything.
No, definitely not.
Okay, good. So what parts of the business have you found to be the most rewarding personally?
Well, when I got my directorship, I was put in charge of the HR element of the company and the accounts element of the company. And so it was something my dad never really wanted to have to deal with, the accounts and everything else. He's an ARB, isn't he? He's gone into consultancy to be a consultant, and he wanted to spend his time on developing those areas and the staff with them, and that was the right place for him to be. So I learned very quickly about those areas, and I think, as I mentioned, the Investors in People was a really rewarding process to go through, and that was great. And actually managing HR and being forced into that area, which isn't always everyone's sort of natural sort of place, has been really rewarding. Seeing staff, and implementing, professional development plans, and seeing staff achieve those and better themselves and get qualified in certain areas and learn and enjoy what they're doing has just been great, and retaining those staff and to have that sort of verified by the Investors in People comments that we got in our report was really humbling. It was great. So I loved that. And also just another proud moment, I think, is from that real sort of dark time of the recession, setting that strategy and actually doing it, actually achieving it. Because lots of people write a business plan and put it in a drawer, but
achieved it.
Actually managing to bring it full circle and being able to stand up in front of the company and say, look, this was the strategy, and look, this is the pie chart which demonstrates our client diversity. This is the pie chart that demonstrates our diversity of services, and being able to create a company that is sustainable and makes everyone feel safe. Especially in COVID, for example, when everyone, felt quite vulnerable, to be able to say, well, we've had this strategy, we've managed to, bring it to fruition, and no one's got anything to worry about. We're going to be all right. This
peace
is
of
okay.
mind. Yeah, for everyone. Yeah, actions speak louder than words. I think a lot of people spend so much time planning and saying they're going to do this sort of stuff, and then think they've cracked it, but then now that's just the start, isn't it? And then you have to take action. Actions speak louder than words, as we say. Excellent. So what advice would you give someone, if there's anyone listening to this now and they're a bit stuck in their business and they want to expand but just don't quite know where to start? What would you say to them?
I would say talk to people. See your competitors as allies. Talk to people in your industry. Look at what they're doing. Look at what works. If you have staff already, let them have a voice. Just because you're doing it one way, sometimes you could become quite blinkered. And not necessarily be able to see your way. And it might be that you just need as well, someone to say, no, I think that's a good idea. Just to verify your thought process, because it's scary sometimes, and all business has an element of risk, but you need to sort of weigh up that risk and decide, whether it's a good business sound, opportunity or not. And sometimes you just need to bounce that off someone to be able to sort of make up your mind about that. So I'd just say, don't be an island and talk to people.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. And it's a common theme, I think, because the industry that you're in is such an abundant industry. Everyone knows each other. Everyone wants to help each other. They're very, very abundant. They're open. They want to help other people. They've been there themselves. And it's a friendly industry. I've coached companies in all sorts of industries, but a landscaping industry as a category, I've never known so many people that know other people in the industry and are genuinely kind, genuinely help each other. They phone each other, get advice. And I think it's so important. Like you say, it can be a real lonely job being a business owner. And there'll be people listening to this now who may be a bit too shy or don't want to bother other people because they think, oh no, they're too busy. But absolutely, talk to people in the industry, talk to your customers, talk to your partners, involve everyone, all your staff members, get people's opinions, make them feel worthy. And everyone's got a voice, everyone's got an opinion. So it's worth not just keeping it to yourself, just to get it out there and share.
Yeah, definitely.
Just for your own sanity, just like you say, to sense check things, to proof check that what you're thinking is actually right and not going to be disastrous.
And associate with people, do things together. As I said, some of the best things that we've ever done have been through association, and surround yourselves with those good people. But I think it's having it's just having the confidence to pick up the phone or have a Teams call or meet for a coffee and say, how's it going with you? And actually forming those relationships, because especially if you're a business owner and you're starting out just by yourself, it's really essential to have that network of support. And as you say, it's a friendly industry, it's a great industry, and if your competitors are doing well, so are you. We shouldn't see each other as competition. It's really, if the industry is buoyant, then there's enough work to go around, and we should all work together.
There is, but I think you make much better progress if you do talk to people and you collaborate with others. And just even if you don't think anything's going to go anywhere, just contact as many people, build as many relationships as you can. And there was a very wise man called Vinnie Jones. You may have heard of Vinnie Jones.
I have heard of Vinnie Jones.
Okay, but he went from hod carrier in South London to Hollywood superstar, making tens of millions of pounds. And one of the quotes I watched an interview of him about 5 years ago. And they said to him, Vinny, what's the secret to your success? You've gone from hod carrier to Hollywood superstar. He said, you know what? The harder I work, the luckier I get. And he said, everyone told me I was mad. All the film houses he went to, he said, I want to be an actor, I'd slam the door in his face, laughed at him, and he didn't give up, but spoke to everyone, got himself well known. And eventually he made his own luck and he got Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. So people are too scared to not try enough. And I think if you can get yourself out there, you make your own luck. You don't know where that bit of luck's coming from or what opportunity that might be. But if you're sitting in your office wondering what to do, I think one of the best things to do is get out there, speak to people. It's a contact sport. You can't sit in your office and sort of own your way to success. You've got to get out there and do stuff.
Even just yesterday, I was involved in a project and I picked up a report from a specialist company that were dealing with green roofs. And there was a doctor, and she created this algorithm. And I'm not going to go into the detail because personally I don't fully understand it either. But it was amazing what they've done. And I thought I need to speak to these people because I need to. This could form a better offering. By associating with this company, I could form a better offering. And so I come across things daily, that excite me, and I think that's sort of. Get to know a bit more about this and the people that are providing it and talk to them, because it just makes your company that much better through that association. Yeah,
and if you're open to those things, you see those opportunities when they arise. If you're not open to them, they sort of pass you by. You don't even realise. But I think if you're looking for them and you're always on the lookout, then you're going to find them. You're going to actually take action on them. So finally, we've got one final question, okay? And if there was just one golden nugget, one brilliant piece of advice that you give to anyone who's trying to build their business from all your years and all your experience of going through what you've been through the recessions and people management and developing the business and diversifying everything, what would it be?
Oh God, that's
just one. Just one. If you can, filter it down to just one golden nugget, your wise words of wisdom. No pressure.
I would say that the best things that you will do in business come from collaboration with others. So just be really open to collaboration and be really open to learning constantly about technology and anything that just comes your way. I really would. And that's collaboration with your staff as well. That your staff are everything. You wouldn't have a business without them. So, don't undervalue how they view things and let them have ideas and ownership.
Brilliant. I like that. Collaborate internally as well. So collaborate with your staff, collaborate externally. It's all about people, isn't it, really, I suppose, at the end of the day? And like you say, without people, you wouldn't be where you are, and you couldn't achieve what you've achieved and serve your clients the way you do. So
I'm very grateful for everyone that works at TMA.
Yeah. Well, it's clear. I mean, I read your entry in the Pro Landscaper Awards. It was an employer award that you went for, and it was phenomenal. It literally blew me away, as I said earlier. Anyway, so if people want to get in touch with you, then Alice, or for whatever product or service you offer, you can even specify which service you'd like to promote, or how would people get in touch with you?
Well, we have a website, obviously, www.tma-consultants.co.uk. Our generic email is info@tma-consultants.co.uk. I'm also on LinkedIn, Alice McAuley. Feel free to drop me a line if you want to have a chat. As I say, I'm really happy to talk to anyone.
Yeah, and what specific services would you sort of just highlight? What ones would appeal the most to landscapers, do you think?
Well, we provide very expert and innovative solutions in terms of trees around development. We also provide advice on ecological enhancements in terms of landscape design, urban greening factor assessment, and biodiversity net gain are very sort of on topic at the moment, and we have experts in-house on that, and very high quality sort of GIS analysis and information as far as that's concerned. So it's a broad spectrum of services as well as landscape architecture, but we have some really specialist in-house staff who can support on those types of projects, and we've also done things on development projects such as eye-tree studies, which looks at carbon offsetting values of trees, and you can sort of extrapolate tree growth, for example, to demonstrate what a landscape might look like in sort of 10 years to 50 years time, and the benefits that landscape might bring to the area to sort of inform the planning process, really, and look at tree removals versus new tree planting, for example, and the value that's going to bring over time. Also, just advice on tree specification. Species diversity is a big topic at the moment, so making sure that you're planting the right tree for the right place. It sounds very simple, but it's not, and it's essential for these trees to actually give back to the future generations and survive. You see a lot of the time, trees put in the ground and they die within a year, and that's money and time and waste. So we can advise and give specialist advice on that area as well.
Amazing. I'm learning so much. Brilliant. Speak to you all day. Very good. Thanks, Alice. That was amazing.
No worries.
And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, obviously they can go to your website and they can look at all these services in a lot more detail. So anyway, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. I'm sure people get a lot of value from it. No doubt we'll catch up with each other another time soon.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Take care. Cheers, Alice. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Grow Landscapers podcast. To get in touch and see how we can help you with your business by emailing nick@nickruddle.com.